He initially wanted to become an attorney, but Tian Griffieth ended up becoming a firefighter, now for the North Charleston Fire Department. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Tian one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Well, Tian, it is so good to see you.
I know.
Welcome. Oh,
Yes, sir.
anytime.
Thank you for the privilege, man.
Anytime.
Absolute privilege.
Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, as we sit here right now, everyone's still talking about the 9/11 silent walk.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering this because from the Post and Courier it says this: an Aiken firefighter remained hospitalized Monday, meaning a couple of weeks ago, after suffering cardiac arrest during an organized walk across the Arthur Ravenel Bridge.
Yes,
And obviously they're talking about Quintin, Assistant Fire Chief Greg Billy. Tell me, how's he doing right now?
Chief Bailey's doing wonderful. Last Sunday, October the 1st, he suffered cardiac arrest. He was a victim of cardiac arrest. He went in cardiac arrest on the Ravenel Bridge. He had already completed 2.5 miles of the event, and he was on his way back to Charleston. He was actually in full arrest when he was started the initiation process of doing CPR by one of his co-workers, one of his members of the fire department, Columbia firefighter, Justin Bussey, began the initial CPR process for him, and then following that, he was treated by our medical staff on scene.
Wow. Where were you emotionally when you heard the news?
You know, emotionally, it is something that you don't ever expect to hear. You know, even though you know it's a reality.
Right.
You're sitting, in a place, and you're wondering, you hear it. Every year we hear, someone's not feeling good,
Right.
someone's overheated.
Right.
You hear that, so the radio traffic was something to the words of, we have a firefighter down, which is, in our industry is a major emergency, but the way it was translated wasn't really translated like an emergency. And then they said CPR in progress. Well, immediately that changes the course of everybody's thoughts. Guys that were standing back at the command post, their emotions, got into another place. I actually ran from about the second diamond all the way to the base of Mount Pleasant. And as I got there, I witnessed our crews beginning to provide services to Chief Bailey, which, as you walk up and you see a fireman laying on his back, and he's got his shirt cut open, he's wearing bunker pants, and he's in firefighting gear, and he's getting CPR compressions done on him. That puts you in a very scary place. Emotionally, there's a lot of thoughts going through your head. There's a lot of just raw feelings.
From what I understand in the Post and Courier, it says that this was the 4th year for the 9th.
Yes.
What is the biggest difference between 4 years now and 4 years ago?
Now it's where we got, anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 people coming to Charleston to participate in this event. The first year we did it was 5 of us. You're talking 5 guys that sent a group text around and saying, hey, you want to go, try to do something, because we felt like 9/11 was, beginning to be, just another day. As a matter of fact, Mike Rooney is a retired NYPD officer who works in the city of North Charleston, is on our committee. His daughter actually is a school teacher, and the kids were coming in and they were saying, why does nobody know what 9/11 is? And so, you sit at that point and you start, you see the value in what you're doing. From then, it was something that we never expected, something that we never expected anybody to be interested in. The second year, we got a couple of messages of someone saying, I wasn't invited. Well, let's try to do that. So we put a challenge out to get 343 firefighters show up, and we had over 1,000 show up that official first year we did it, and it was amazing to see that many people actually. You'd be remiss to think people didn't, care. Obviously, people do care, but it's just see that many people with your same level of compassion.
9/11 silent walk. What does that mean to you?
It's never changed. I think what you see on 9/11 has changed. But when you look at the day, you look at the loss. If you look at the way the laws have changed, the way you go to the airport, the way our lives as Americans have changed. Our whole entire world. That I always like to say, as a younger guy, that's the Pearl Harbor of my lifetime. And you'll never. I hope to never witness anything that tragic again. You're talking 2,977 people in 1 hour. You're talking a building that took 7 years to build, and it had an hour and 30-minute lifespan when the planes crashed into it. The North Tower, was the first plane that was struck by Flight 11. And you're talking, the world stopped. We didn't know where we were at. We were living in a world of so great peace that our planes went up in the sky and they weren't weaponized. Imagine, trying to put the rockets together. We were just in such a place of peace. And to see, our world, being forever changed, and everything since then. You've seen the world change.
And I was actually in the 11th grade at the time when that happened. So
I was in the 11th grade when that happened. I remember standing in high school.
Yeah.
I remember them making everybody stand, and and it didn't seem, then I remember the movie Independence Day came out, and it didn't seem like it was a real reality. It seemed like it was fiction. It didn't seem like it could be real. Mm-hmm. But to people who live in New York City, it's very real. It's real to this day. Right. If you ever go to New York City, there's still buildings that you can still see the impacts. When you go to the museum, there's still storefronts that they've taken the ashes. That it would look like almost like a snow, not a snow cone, but almost like a cotton candy. Wow. That's just fine paper that was actually just swept to the center. Right. So you can see this stuff. So for me, the 9/11 Silent Walk takes what some that are from Charleston or like myself, that and have not a place in New York City where it would be a reality to them as far as losses. I think it takes, the past and what maybe almost seen as an abstract and makes it an absolute reality. When you're able to, hear people, they get to go and they get to see, the faces. It just doesn't, you see them, and every year, we have families that reach out to us and say, thank you for doing this, because it seems like nobody remembers that side, and one of the funniest things that I've ever had the experience of, last year, we were at Hall's Chop House after the walk. And we ran into Lieutenant John Ginley's wife off of Engine 40. Right. It's 12 o'clock at night in Charleston. Wow. On 9/11. Right. How do I run into your wife? The world is not that big. The world is very small. The fact that people that we have dynamics of not even interacting with, we seem to find ourselves interacting with them.
Wow. Let me reset, because I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
Tian Griffieth. Yeah. Okay, this is what you actually put a quote on your Facebook page, and I thought this was very telling to me. It says this quote: "One person with passion is better than 40 people merely interested." E.M. Forster wrote that. What is your passion these days?
My passion is my family. We just had a small baby, brand new baby boy. And that's exciting things. There's nothing more important than your family at any point. That can be seen by the many people that are missed on 9/11, but also that reverts back into my passion for the fire service. We go on many places where you see victims of tragedy constantly. Violence and accidental things that transpire, and it drives you back always to family. But it also drives you to wanting to serve and wanting to be there and help people and be of service to people.
Yeah. Matter of fact, you told the Charleston Magazine this in September 2016 when they asked the following question: "What inspired you to become a firefighter?" You said this quote: "I never had any intention of going into the fire service. My dream was to be an attorney. But on June 18, 2007, we tragically lost 9 firefighters in the Charleston Superstore fire. For me, it created a sense of urgency to do something. I began volunteering on the Charleston County Rescue Squad and developed a passion for the job, for being available to help people on their worst days. I decided to make it my career." Let me go back to the Superstore fire. That was 10 years ago. I remember that day, a hot, humid week throughout that entire time. What is the biggest difference between 2007 and right now in your mind?
I'll tell you, the greatest change from 2007 significantly to the fire service is our interactions with each other. We have dismissed all lines in all districts and all staying within the parameters of the city lines. Our trucks work off of the closest truck. Okay. The closest truck that may respond to you, if you live in Mount Pleasant, it may be a North Charleston truck. Mm-hmm. It may, if you live on Folly Beach, it may be a North Charleston truck. Mm-hmm. It could be a City of Charleston truck that responds to the City of Somerville. Mm-hmm. Our agreements that we've set in place for automatic aid has allowed us to broaden our range of service for people in the community and get out of the place where we're confined to the lines of our district and it delays service. Mm-hmm. So we're now able to cut our service time and our response times to the public in half. we can get to your home in an emergency in 8 minutes.
Wow.
In years past, that was just impossible.
And let me go back to what you said. I have decided to make it in my career. What has this career been like for you?
You know, this is job crafting. You know, this is one of those things. You know, you come into the fire department and you fully expect to go to fires every day, and you don't go to fires every day. One of the things you actually find yourself doing is actually being a service to people. It may be people inside your firehouse that may be going through different things in their relationships or going through different things in life. It may be going out and doing public education for kids, and and letting kids know that that just because of their circumstances or where they're at in life doesn't mean that they can't achieve things, and they don't need to necessarily be in the NBA to be something in the community and actually serve and be something to people. Letting people see that that you can do things in this world, and you can do it from nothing, from scratch.
And something else that the Charleston magazine asked you, and this was the following question: what's something readers may not know about the fire service? You said this: only 30% of firefighters in South Carolina get paid. Consider the fact that 70% of the firefighters in the state are working for free. It's a truly amazing thing. I don't think there's anybody in the fire department who doesn't love their job. What is the state of the fire service right now? Firefighters, what's the future?
As far as the fire service, we're seeing a serious reduction in volunteerism. I started out as a volunteer in the fire service, and that was at a time where you weren't making the most money, but the cost of things, the having to work two jobs, has reduced guys being able to go out in their communities and take care of the communities. Most volunteer fire departments are seeing a steady reduction of members. They're sometimes at most relying on 4 to 5 people to respond to their community's calls. Sometimes with remains almost 1,000 calls. Placing that on less than 20 people on occasion. When you look at places like McCormick County in South Carolina, the average age of the firefighter there is 68 to 72 years old. That's what they have to take care of the community. And so you look at that community. That's the hotbed of the community. That's the demographics of the community. All their firefighters are going to be 68 to 72 years old. Their schools, there's not, and so now what they're trying to do is they're trying to go into schools and create programs early on. So as you get out of high school, you've now certified. You're now certified as an EMT. You're now certified as a firefighter, and now allow them to have access to these programs. In the city of North Charleston, we're doing an apprentice program through Quintin Technical College, and we're able to facilitate the experience for these youth, and also allow them to come into our organization and participate and see what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. Well, let me go back to you again, because I was reading this article really in the Somerville Journal scene, that is. It says this: the last football player in Coach John Bagwell's class, Tian Griffieth, 29 years old, of Somerville, graduated from Fort Dorchester High School and went on first to Triton Tech and then to get his BS in pre-law from, I believe, Strayer University, is what they're saying, here in North Charleston. Who was Tian Griffieth as a student?
I tell you, I would probably almost be a doctor in the fire department. We go to so much level of education. Actually tomorrow I'm graduating from the South Carolina Leadership Institute, which is a year-long program, and it's just based in leadership. It's based on exploring our state fire service and seeing what we can contribute, whether it be through documents, whether it be through programs, whether it be through just whatever various avenues we can pursue to whatever we can do to strengthen the South Carolina Fire Service. So that's a significant. When you talk like a year of travel and a year of being in all over the world, all over South, all over the United Nations, seeing what's going on in different places and seeing how we can bring that back here to take care of our community, keep our community safe. There's a constant learning. I'm always reading something. There's always books that are just half read or always working through. There's always, because information is just one of those things. Information and experience, they just make you who you are as a person, and you're constantly learning. In the fire service, that's one of those things that allow you to actually return home the next morning. You have to be confident. You have to constantly be learning. You have to constantly be vigilant and not get into a place of complacency.
Yeah. Describe to me the following one word: New England Patriots.
I take a lot of beatings for that. I take a lot of beatings for the New England Patriots, and when they don't do well, I don't do well.
Oh God!
But it's one of those things, it's one of those things you look at it and you see a team that's always winning,
Right.
and nobody likes it, and I mean, and it's one of those things that sometimes you almost identify with, you have so many positive things going on,
Right.
I mean, nobody really is gonna love it,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and so, I mean, it's one of those things that it's I kind of identify with it. They kind of got a chip on their shoulder, I kind of got a chip on my shoulder because sometimes you get counted out.
Oh, God.
And so I mean, you find yourself, where you look at adversity, you look at them last year.
Right.
So that's a face of adversity.
Sure.
You're down, and then you come back. That speaks to me as a person, as I've been down and I've come back. And it's a testament almost to the word faith.
So let me ask you this: you say faith. What is your favorite biblical scripture?
I gave you a challenge coin just now.
Yes.
I just put it on there.
Right.
We actually this year, which we almost find it risky to place it in that situation, but we brought faith into and what our beliefs are. So many people they are living off faith.
Yes.
They're living off of belief. And I believe and I believe. And it's one of those things. Greater has no love than a man who lay down his life for his brother.
Right.
To self-sacrifice, to be that willing to self-sacrifice for someone, that may not be your blood, may not be anything other than you, than a person that you may be associated with, but greater has no love than another person than sacrifice yourself for someone else. That is by far, one of the things that I find to be most exemplary verse in the entire Bible. I'm going to give myself up on behalf of you.
What's next for you?
It's always a wonder. You never know where God's gonna lead you. You never know where your family's gonna lead you. It's an absolute privilege to work in the city of North Charleston in the fire department.
Yes.
It's an absolute privilege to be in South Carolina and to do the many things that we do, relating to the silent walk and
Right.
relating to other just projects that we have going on, working on in the state. I'm from here, so I'm always very haphazard, to want to ever leave here, because you want to do great things at home.
Sure.
And if I was always told if you can't do great things at home, you can't do great things anywhere else. So if you don't take care of home, I love taking care of home. I love going and going home and working in the city that I live in, and I just you never know what anybody holds for you or what God's plan is for you, because His plan is always better than your plan.
Sure.
And that's one of those things. So I mean, I always ask Him to kind of order my steps and
Yes.
order my direction the way I'm going in life.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Tian Griffin, thank you for your service, and we thank you for this
Yes,
time
sir.
as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
come back
you.
and see us.
Absolute privilege, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.